No surprise the Brewers took 2 or 3 from the Giants. That's just like expected these days that the Brewers are going to win every series. Some reaction regarding my comments regarding Jackson Chourio, and the starting pitching is just fine. All that and more on this edition of Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Man, the Brewers are just unbelievable, aren't they? I mean, how many more great things can we say about this team? And one of the keys to their success is consistency. We'll get to that coming up here in a little bit. Talk about Jackson Chourio, as I mentioned, a few other things as well as we head into the weekend, Labor Day weekend, the Brewers in first place and still trying to chase down a few teams, the Dodgers and Phillies, for the best record in the National League. And maybe a top 2 seed. Not only the best record, but maybe the second seed would be just great. Chuck Freeman, longtime host of many sports talk shows here in the state of Wisconsin, longtime sportscaster, proud host of Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. We'll tell you about everywhere you get the podcast, video, audio. We'll get to all that a little bit later on. But I assume you found one of the spots. There's all sorts of spots we download the podcast. And, of course, this show is brought to you in part by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Everybody plays fantasy sports. Was talking about that on the golf course tonight. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. Use it in all lowercase, Locked On MLB. That first deposit match up to $100. Before I get to my Chourio thing, when I was getting this podcast prepared for this Friday morning, I was thinking, man, it's just amazing how we haven't had to deal with a 5, 6, 7 game losing skid with this team. I've always said this team isn't the most talented team in the world, but what is it about these guys that they don't have any prolonged slumps? They just keep bouncing back. Said to my buddy Hunter Baumgart the other day, who works in Milwaukee on the postgame show, the Brewers postgame show there, covers the team. I said, when the Brewers took a 5-0 lead after the Contreras home run, anybody, and I put this tweet out, anybody who thinks this team is not one of the better teams in baseball, you got to be a complete fool. And I got some negative reaction on Twitter on that. People said the Braves and other teams. The Brewers just come out and just keep winning. And the proof will be in the pudding, obviously, in October, because we've been fooled before, and I get that. I have a feeling it's different this time. It's like, when you're in the dating scene, you meet this girl and you think, man, this is it. And then she goes ahead and disappoints you. And then you meet this one. Oh, this girl's fantastic. She goes ahead and disappoints you. Sometimes it's me who's doing the disappointing. But anyway, you know what I mean. We've been fooled. We've fooled around before. We fell in love with our Milwaukee Brewers only to have our heart cut out. But I think this time it's real love. When I say that, I don't think they're going to go into the postseason, and when they play postseason ball, when it rolls around October, I don't think they're going to disappoint us like they are last year. I will lose my mind if they do. I will lose, because it's like, how many times can I get fooled? But this team hasn't lost more than 3 in a row all year. That is phenomenal. Anytime we think they're going to go through just a tiny bit of skid, that here it comes, they bounce right back. They play over the weekend. They lose against Oakland on Sunday, and then they lose the opener against the Giants. And another time we're thinking, okay, here we go. Is this going to be it? They come back and they take the final 2 games against the Giants. A buddy of mine who I've talked about here on the podcast was traveling down, was going to put a play on the Giants. He said, the Giants are going to take 2 or 3 in this series. He said, the Brewers are a better team. Sure enough. The Brewers you can just feel a rally coming with these guys as of late. Now, there's sometimes when runs are hard to come by. Like today, Thursday, those hits, they just put those hits together sometimes, and they're so fun to watch. Yeah, there's times when they can't get out of their own way out of offense, but, I look around baseball, that's a problem around the league, but I think we watch our Brewers every day and we see the hot and cold, but it's never an extended period of cold. It's never an extended period of bad baseball. Their longest winning streak is 6 in a row. 6 in a row is their longest winning streak, but they've lost like 3 in a row. I want to say 8 or 9 times this year. But amazing. The only team in baseball never to lose more than 3 in a row. That's been the biggest reason why they're 21 games over the 500 mark. The model of consistency with this team. Anytime they go through every baseball team goes through a 5-6 game skid, it seems. I mean, you're going to have like weeks where you're not going to do anything and you're going to struggle. And it's going to be like, man, we've seen it with all the good teams the Brewers have had over the years. This team, it's amazing because they'll lose 3 in a row and then they'll come back and win 3 in a row. And it won't be like lose 3, win 1, and then lose 4 more. They just keep bouncing back and winning games. And starting pitching, excuse me for watching me on video, I had a scratch in my back. Starting pitching is not a problem whatsoever right now. We're going to get to that coming up a little bit. Also, Jackson Chourio reaction. I'm going to get to that right now. Now, the podcast I put out yesterday, the title of it was Jackson Chourio, best Milwaukee rookie ever? Question mark I put. Question mark. I didn't say he was. I said question mark. And if you watched the podcast, okay, some of you didn't watch the podcast. You just commented on Twitter. I do say Ryan Braun had the best rookie year ever. I do. Some of you came at me and said, boy, obviously, took shots at me. I said, no, Ryan Braun is had the best rookie season in 2007. You didn't watch the video. Jake says, without even watching the video yet, no, he has the most potential probably, but Ryan Braun had an incredible rookie season. I love you, Chourio. Don't ever leave us. I did say it. Again, Ryan Braun. Ryan Braun, says Matthew, had the best rookie season, not even close. Chourio will be an absolute monster through the future. 20 years ago and going to put a 4-WAR season is wild. So yeah, Ryan Braun, best rookie season. Master of Puppets tribute says Chourio having a great year, but hands down, Ryan Braun, our greatest rookie. How soon we forget? No, I don't. 324, 113 games, 34 homers, 97 RBIs, rookie of the year. Yes. And in the MVP voting, Ryan Braun. Jordan says Chourio, tons of potential upside, but the man to pass is Ryan Braun. Yes. Ryan Braun. Ryan Braun is the greatest rookie of all time in Brewer history. Somebody mentioned Molitor. Molitor had a Hall of Fame career, but his rookie year, Chourio's having a better rookie year than Molitor. Chourio, somebody mentioned Robin Yount, 1974. Robin Yount didn't have a great year, 74 or 75. Wasn't until like 78 he started going. Jackson Chourio, better than Robin Yount in his early days. Now, where Chourio takes it from here, and he had drove it another run, RBIs on Thursday in Thursday's game. Now, where Chourio takes it from here, that's up to him. If he continues to work, he's got a lot of natural ability, and he's got to build on this. We know that. He's got to build. He's great, but can be great, really, really good. Okay? Let's hope he gets to that level. I think there's still, and I think the Brewers feel this too, Pat Murphy has talked about it, there's other levels that this guy can get on. But it's up to Chourio to keep working hard, doing those things. Just like anything else. Working hard is going to get there, and Chourio can get to that mark. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. Starting pitching, you say, it's not a problem with the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Every day we're here talking Brewers baseball with you. And Liquid IV is a big sponsor of us right here on Locked On Brewers. And whether you're taking in America's pastime, sitting out there in the warm conditions, don't forget to hydrate. Liquid IV, the popsicle firecracker flavor, is a surefire hit. They have them over here at the convenience store where I live. They are fantastic. Baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and hydration. Get hydrated. Electrolytes, the essential vitamins, clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powered hydration brand in America, Liquid IV. You get all the benefits, whether you're out there on the golf course, whether you're working out in the summer, whatever it is, Liquid IV is for you. And right now, liquidiv.com, use the promo code MLB at checkout, and you're going to get 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using the promo code liquidiv.com. Again, they're the electrolytes. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 vitamins, nutrients, all in a single stick. 100% of the daily value of 4 essential B vitamins, the B3, the B5, the B6, the B12. Excellent source for vitamin C. So what you need to do, go to liquidiv.com, promo code MLB, 20% off your first order. Liquid IV. This is Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Thank you, all you everydayers. You guys who listen in on the podcast, you get us on Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcast, we're there. We're the #1 Brewers podcast on the internet because of you great Brewer fans. Our growing podcast took this over last March, a year ago March, and we've been able to grow it because of you great Brewer fans out there following us along. And please hit me up on YouTube. Subscribe to YouTube. Go to Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell, hit the likes, whatever you do. Please support Locked On Brewers. It's all free. You're never going to get a bill from us. Never get a bill. Follow me on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. Locked On Brewers, your source for all the Brewer daily sports Brewers commentary right here on Locked On Brewers. All right. Aaron Civale and Aaron Ashby, who I'm going to get to, combined on the 11th Brewers shutout of the season on Thursday afternoon. 6-0. Civale, along with Montas, both throwing their names in the hat when we talk about Freddie Peralta, Colin Ray, Tobias Myers, those names. We talk about those 3 guys as making the start in the postseason for the Brewers. But Civale says, hey, man, I can do it too. Montas is throwing his name in the hat. Man, you got some really good options. I still think it's going to be those first 3. But Civale, if you need him in long relief in the postseason, Montas, the veteran like that in the postseason, we'll take it the way they're pitching. Montas had one bad inning in his last time out. But, man, I love it. I think this starting pitching, we talked about pitching. Get the big pitchers at the All-Star break. Brewers went out and got Montas, Civale, and they've been just fine. Some of those other big namers out there, they're not doing so well. You know, I was in that company of being disgusted because the Brewers did not go out and get themselves a bona fide #1 starter. Doing just fine. And this bullpen is getting healthy and looking good. Man, I'm telling you, great things are ahead. Piamps and what he's done. He got a big out the other night. You know, Tuesday, he didn't pitch all that well. And then he came back on Wednesday and got the job done. And Aaron Ashby is adding his name, a left-handed source coming out of the bullpen. What a comeback for Aaron Ashby. We didn't talk much about him this year. He was coming back from the labrum surgery, and he was great down at AAA in his rehab starts. And I thought he would get some innings here and there or whatever, mop-up duty. And Ashby, they threw him in for a couple of innings, and he looked great. He's been fantastic. The velo is up for Ashby. I want to see more of it. That's 2 relief appearances I've seen so far of him. I want to see more of it. Ashby doing really well out of the bullpen. I've seen him pitch twice, and both times he's looked great. Let's see more of it. Aaron Ashby adding a left-handed arm coming out of that bullpen. Really, really good. Throwing in the high 90s. Again, I want to see it in the postseason as well if he's on the postseason roster. Like I said a couple of podcasts ago, this is going to be a very, very interesting roster that the Brewers are going to have to put together for the postseason roster. Even for that September. You know, it's not that September roster. You can't put 40 guys on your roster anymore. They eliminated that rule a few years ago. when you're asking about Miz coming up here, and I hope he does come up. Maybe he won't. Brewers have been touting him on social media. They're talking a lot about him, so maybe they are going to bring him up in September. We will have to see. It is right around the corner. We are at August 30th, a couple of days away from September 1st, but I'm telling you, things are looking good. Brandon Woodruff throwing from the mound. Threw a bullpen session the other day. A couple of pitches. We'll get to that coming up next. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Locked On Brewers PrizePicks. PrizePicks, your place to play daily fantasy sports. The number one daily fantasy sports app out there. Over 5 million active members. Here's it is, PrizePicks, the easiest, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, PrizePicks, it's you against the numbers. Pick more or less on 2 to 6 players, projections, stat projections. Watch the winnings roll right in. You can win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks, as little as 4 correct picks, and you could turn $10 into $1,000. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win. Just play $5. You'll receive $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. But you got to download the PrizePicks app. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. You'll get $50 instantly when you play the $5. That's promo code LOCKEDONMLB. PrizePicks, $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even have to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. PrizePicks. Run your game with PrizePicks. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Down the stretch we come here on Locked On Brewers. Thank you all, you everydayers, for following us along. Our another place you want to make your second listen, go to Locked On MLB. Our buddy Sully has all the daily baseball news and guests on Locked On MLB. And occasionally I make an appearance on that show. Brewers start a series in Cincinnati. 2 games on Thursday, day-night doubleheader. It's a makeup. And then they play on Saturday. And they play on Sunday, 11:10 with a start on Friday. You get it on Sirius XM app. Search Brewers. You get all 162 of Brewers baseball, home and road broadcasts as well. We'll talk more about the Reds here in just a second, but I want to talk to you about Brandon Woodruff. Woody, 15 bullpen pitches the other day on Tuesday, and he's going to make the road trip to Cincinnati. I'm going to throw off the mound again. And I know what you're thinking. Is he going to pitch this season? He is not pitching. He had surgery last November. Remember, they non-tendered him. Then they did sign him. And they're expecting Woody to be back next year. But all reports are that Woody is on track. And I'm glad that the Brewers signed him through 2025 and then an option through 2026. But Brandon Woodruff on the road to recovery, making the road trip in Cincinnati. He'll be thrown off the mound through 15 bullpen pitches on Tuesday. Colin Ray makes the start on Friday morning. He's won both of his starts. He's pitched well in both of his starts against Cincinnati. I'm trying to think if he won both of those. He pitched well in both of those. I'm not sure if he got credited for wins in both of them. He's up against Nick Martinez, who's got an ERA of near 7. The Reds have been struggling. They were about ready to lose on Thursday, and then they came up with a 3-run bottom of the 9th inning and beat Oakland. The A's were on the verge of sweeping the Reds, won Tuesday and Wednesday, and were trailing the Reds 7-6 in the 9th inning, and then the A's scored 3 runs in the top of the 9th inning to take the lead, and then the Reds came back with 3 runs in the bottom of the 9th inning for a dramatic 10-9 win. It's going to be hot in Cincinnati this weekend. If you're all going down there, it's expect temperatures 90s, mid-90s. That's the way it always feel like it is in Cincinnati. But Colin Ray will make the start, and hopefully the Brewers get the win in Cincinnati and keep the heat on the Phillies and Dodgers. I know the Dodgers did win. Let's update the standings here as far as the Brewers trying to catch the top 2 seeds. Philadelphia, 55 losses. They came from behind and beat Atlanta on Thursday. The Dodgers with 54, Milwaukee with 56. So all 3 teams won on Thursday. Dodgers beat Baltimore. Milwaukee won. So the Dodgers right now, the number 1 seed with 54 losses. Philadelphia, the 2 seed with 55, Milwaukee with 56. And remember, in 2 weeks, a week from this Monday, the Brewers have, I believe it's a week from this Monday, the Brewers have the Phillies. The Brewers in September have 3 home games still to come against the Philadelphia Phillies. Hey, everybody, thank you for downloading our podcast and watching us. Man, have a great Labor Day weekend. Enjoy watching the games. And, I'll be tweeting out stuff and all that. Follow me on Twitter, Chuck Freeman, FREIMUND. I wish the Brewers were home this weekend. I wish they were. I love when they're home on Memorial Day or Labor Day weekend. They are home on Monday against the St. Louis Cardinals for an afternoon game. But they'll play these 4 games in Cincinnati, quick road trip, and then come right back for 3 games against St. Louis and then Colorado in the following weekend. And the Rockies are terrible. They got a pretty good offense, but just the Rockies have been bad. All right, that's going to do it. Again, Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcast, that's where we are. And, of course, hit me up on YouTube, our growing YouTube page. Search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode here on Locked On Brewers. Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Have yourself a great weekend, everybody.